Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. The cultivators in the vicinity who were healing their injuries widened their eyes when they saw the black avatar that emerged out of the depths of the Skywheel Rift Valley. Under the setting sun, the black light was dazzling. It covered the sun like how dark clouds covered the sun. It's 1,000 realms whirling avatar. It's 1,000 whirling realm avatar. Hurry. Retreat. The cultivators did not have time to dwell on the shock, nor did they have time to continue healing their injuries. All of them hastened to retreat at this moment. Compared to the 1,000 whirling realm avatar, they were like flies. When the 1,000 realms whirling avatar broke out from the depth of the valley, it caused the lava to overflow out. Just like that, the lava destroyed all the trees within a radius of a few kilometers. The valley was instantly turned into a sea fire. It's a Black Lotus 1,000 realms whirling avatar. It's over for our Red Lotus domain. The cultivators fell into despair when they witnessed this scene. They acutely felt their insignificance and helplessness. At this moment, there were a few observant cultivators who saw an avatar and the golden Buddha body standing on the palm of the 1,000 realms whirling avatar. From afar, it looked like Buddha was holding the golden jade bottle in his palm. Someone cried out, "Hey, it's that elite who defeated Yuan'er. I can't believe he survived an encounter with the 1,000 realms whirling avatar." It doesn't matter. Now that the Black Lotus 1,000 realms whirling avatar is here, disaster is bound to befall him. After a while, the cultivators were surprised to discover the 1,000 realms whirling avatar paid no attention to them. Instead, it kept flying in the sky toward the east. In just a blink of an eye, it disappeared into the horizon. Meanwhile, Zhou suppressed the shock in his heart and looked at the refined man who was currently hovering in the middle of the Black Lotus avatar's forehead. The scholarly man turned and looked at Zhou before he shifted his attention to Zhou's stack of defenses and Yuan'er. Before Zhou could speak, the scholarly man looked ahead and said with a sigh, "Humans. In the end, humans are just like animals who fight among themselves. When can we stop such useless acts? You have to think ahead." Zhou frowned slightly as he checked the time he had left from the peak trial card. He had only 3 minutes left. Then, as he looked at the 1,000 realms whirling avatar that was flying, he asked skeptically, "Where are we going?" "The endless ocean." "Why are we going there?" Zhou asked. The scholarly man looked at Zhou again and said indifferently, "Is this how you talk to your savior?" Zhou reflected on his behavior. He could not help it. Perhaps, it was because he had been acting this way for a long time now that it was now ingrained. No matter who he faced, his attitude could not be changed. "My savior? Forget it. Perhaps, you were strong enough to escape on your own," the scholarly man said as he waved his arm, withdrawing his 1,000 realms whirling avatar. With this, Zhou was left hovering in the air. There was also the unconscious Yuan'er. The scholarly man said, "If you can catch up to me, I'll answer your questions." "Okay." Zhou nodded. The scholarly man shook his head and sighed again. "The weaker you are, the more conceited you are." Buzz. Just like that, the scholarly man disappeared into thin air. So fast? In any case, Zhou was not in a rush to catch up. At this time, the last 3 minutes flashed incessantly on the system panel. Moreover, he could tell the elite with the 1,000 realms whirling avatar had no intention of killing him. Otherwise, the man would not have saved him. Needless to say, even if the man did not save him, he was certain he could have escaped unscathed. Apart from that, that man's appearance confirmed his speculation that the depth of the Skywheel Rift Valley was similar to the bottomless abyss in the Golden Lotus domain in that they were passages to a different universe. If the man with the 1,000 realms whirling avatar intended to kill him, there was only one thing left for him to do. He would have to exchange all his accumulated merit points for the deadly strike cards and hope for the best. Fortunately, the man had no intention of killing him. By the beach, after some time had passed, the sunlight sparkled on the surface of the calm sea. Buzz. A black avatar appeared in the sky before disappearing again. The refined man seemed to have appeared out of thin air before he slowly descended from where his avatar had appeared earlier. The gentle breeze blew on his face as he descended. When he finally landed on the beach, he walked like a mortal, choosing not to fly. At this moment, he seemed to be in a daze, mesmerized by the vast sea and the beauty of the setting sun. However, after a moment, he let out a long sigh as a melancholic expression appeared on his face. It made one feel as though he was reluctant to leave this beautiful place. He continued looking at the setting sun when buzz. The sound of resonance rang in his ears. He turned slightly to have a look. A shining golden avatar appeared in his sight before it disappeared. The fact was Zhou had depleted all his energy, forcing him to descend earlier than he had expected. Soon enough, the scholarly man recovered from the shock of Zhou's success in catching up to him. He rose to his feet and rested his hands on his back as he continued to look at the endless sea and asked, "How did you catch up to me?" The peak trial card was no longer in effect. In fact, his last two moves were from his own cultivation base. He really did not expect the Thousand Realms whirling avatar to be so powerful. It's nothing worth mentioning. After Zhou sorted his thoughts out, he moved to stand next to the man on the beach. Then, the refined man said, "My name's Li." Zhou was slightly taken aback when he heard Li's name. He had intended to introduce himself as Ji Tiandao, but when he discovered they shared the same surname, there was an inexplicable sense of kinship. Humans were strange creatures. Sometimes, all it took was one or two sentences to feel connected to someone. He felt that the distance between them had lessened just because of their shared surname. In the end, he said, "My name is Zhou." Oh. A hint of surprise flitted past Li's face when he heard Zhou's name. Then, he said, "You're the strongest person I've met below the Thousand Realms whirling stage." "What does it matter even if I'm the strongest person you've met below the Thousand Realms whirling stage? I couldn't even take the little life of that birth chart beast," Zhou said with a sigh as he shook his head. As soon as Zhou finished speaking, Li brought a fiery red life heart out from his sleeve and casually tossed it over to Zhou before he said, "It's nothing but a ferocious beast. I'll give this to you." Zhou instinctively caught the life heart, surprised. Li smiled. He looked at the setting sun and said, "I have activated enough birth charts. Life hearts are no longer useful to me." "Birth charts?" Zhou asked. After activating the first birth chart, one can manifest the Thousand Realms whirling avatar and enter the mystic sky realm. Everyone has a different number of birth charts. As for me, I can only activate 5 birth charts, Li explained. After a beat, he continued to say, "There's no need for you to ask me about activating the birth charts. There should be information about that in the Red Lotus domain. You should ask me something else. Once the sun sets, I won't answer any more questions." At this moment, the sun was about to set completely. With the time left, there were not many questions Zhou could ask. After a while, he asked, "Does the Black Lotus domain exist?" "Yes. Since time immemorial, the strong prey on the weak. Not only did you not kill us, but you saved us. What's your purpose?" Zhou asked. Li sighed again before he said, "I used to kill without thinking much about it. However, I later discovered it's meaningless. Humans should stop fighting among themselves. Perhaps, only by being united can we conquer everything and control fate." "Conquer everything?" Zhou asked in confusion. "For example, the shackles of heaven and earth, the ferocious beasts, and the unknown." Zhou asked again, "Why did you come to the Red Lotus domain?" "I'm here on a mission," Li answered honestly. "What mission?" "To kill a sea beast. Of course, there's the possibility that I might be killed instead. So this might be the last time we see each other." The sun continued to set. Zhou recalled the behemoth he encountered in the endless ocean and asked, "What sea beast?" "A behemoth that's beyond your imagination. There's still no need for you to worry about these things for now," Li said. At this moment, only an afterglow could be seen on the horizon. The sun had disappeared. Lu Li sighed again. Time's up. Although the sun had set, Lu Zhou still asked, why don't you stay? Perhaps, I might be able to help you? Lu Li shook his head and said with a hint of helplessness, your cultivation base is too weak for you to help much. Fortunately, you encountered me. If it were someone else, perhaps, you might have been killed with just one move. Lu Zhou shook his head as well, fortunately, you have no intention of killing me. Otherwise, I might have killed you with one move. The evening breeze blew against the duo, causing the robes to flutter in the air. Lu Li turned around slowly and looked at a middle-aged man with the surname Lu. At this moment, Lu Zhou cancelled the effect of the disguise card and resumed his original appearance. Naturally, his bearing and aura remained the same. His youth was fleeting and ended with just a snap of his fingers. Once again, a hint of surprise flashed in Lu Li's eyes. Lu Li was surprised by Lu Zhou's ability to disguise himself. A cultivator who had not activated his birth charts or formed the Thousand Realms whirling avatar managed to fool his eyes. In fact, when the old man in front of him reverted to his original appearance, he even felt a sense of danger from the old man. This was an instinct he had honed to become an elite. You seem surprised, Lu Zhou said. As he spoke, the deadly strike card hidden in his hand vanished into thin air. In fact, when he cancelled the effect of the disguise card, he had brought out the deadly strike card. After all, powerful elites could be whimsical and unpredictable. What if Lu Li had gotten angry because of his deception? Humans had always been unpredictable. There were many who died without knowing why because they were not careful. After Lu Li regained his composure, he looked at the sea again and said, I suddenly remember an old friend. An old friend? Lu Zhou asked in confusion. Lu Zhou was about to speak when Lu Li shook his head and said with a sigh, it doesn't matter. It's better if you don't ask. Otherwise, you might get bored of listening to me talk. Hey, you should talk about it. I won't get bored listening. In the end, Lu Zhou said, I have plenty of time. You can say whatever you want. Lu Li shook his head and said with a forlorn expression, my time is limited. Our meeting is a fateful one. Farewell. Wait. Lu Zhou called out before he said, since you saved me, let me tell you something. If you're really going to the endless ocean to kill the 10,000-foot behemoth, I advise you to give up. You're not a match for it. Lu Li exclaimed in surprise, you've seen the sea beast? I've seen it in the endless ocean. I knew at that time I couldn't defeat it, let alone kill it, Lu Zhou replied honestly. Lu Li looked at Lu Zhou in a daze. He did not understand why the old man who had not even formed the Thousand Realms whirling avatar or activated his birth chart emitted such an immense pressure and sense of danger. In the end, he replied, I'm not dealing with that sea beast you mentioned. It's another sea beast. Oh. However, I appreciate your reminder. I can see endless potential in you. Perhaps, one day you'll understand. Farewell. Lu Li walked away and walked on the sea's surface without getting a single drop of water on him. Wait, Lu Zhou called out again. Then, he asked, Yu Qinshu is the court master of the Sky Martial Court. He's not a good person. Why did you save him? I don't know if he's good or evil. If you think he's an eyesore, then just kill him, Lu Li replied. Lu Zhou asked again, if you truly want humans to unite and help each other, why don't you help the Red Lotus domain? Lu Zhou truly did not understand. Lu Li was incredibly strong, he was a Thousand Realms whirling cultivator. Moreover, Lu Li had also activated 5 birth charts. With Lu Li's strength, he could do as he pleased in the Red Lotus domain. If Lu Li took action, it would be easy for him to bring peace to or improve the Golden Lotus domain and the Red Lotus domain. Upon hearing Lu Zhou's question, Lu Li regarded Lu Zhou with a complex gaze. At this moment, the afterglow from the sunset was fading away, and it would not long before darkness fell. In the end, Lu Li did not answer Lu Zhou's question. Instead, he took something out of his sleeve and tossed it over to Lu Zhou before he said, this map will help you with the Thousand Realms whirling. I hope it'll be helpful to your journey to the Thousand Realms whirling stage. just as Lu Zhou caught the object. Buzz. The Thousand Realms whirling avatar appeared in front of Lu Zhou. All the fishes and beasts in the sea swam away in a hurry, and the birds and the beasts on the coastline fled in fear. Lu Zhou looked at the huge black lotus again. He looked at the astrolabe behind the avatar's head and saw 5 spots of light and some faintly discernible patterns on it. The astrolabe was huge and round. It was, naturally, black. It was more eye-catching than the patterns in the middle of the lotus. At this moment, the Thousand Realms whirling avatar suddenly disappeared as though it had never been there. With that, normalcy slowly returned to the sea. Lu Zhou really could not figure out why Luli was in such a hurry to leave. However, he had no way to make Luli stay. Perhaps, Luli's mission had a time limit. It was unfortunate that his time with Luli was so short and the information he obtained was limited. Nevertheless, he was greatly invigorated. After all, he had been given a peek into a new universe. Lu Zhou looked around for a moment to confirm that Luli had really left. Then, he looked at the thing that Luli had given him. It was a unique piece of cloth. It felt soft to the touch, but it was rather heavy. After that, he looked at the content on the cloth. He saw a pattern formed from 36 triangles. All the centers of the triangles overlapped, and the triangles were arranged in a clockwise position. The pattern was simple yet complicated. With just a quick glance, it resembled a blooming flower. Apart from that, each of the 36 corners was marked with names. Lu Zhou muttered to himself, the stars align the pen and sword, hidden jade in the stone, moonlight shines on the calm sea. He could not understand what he was reading at all. It felt even more difficult to understand than the heavenly writing. Apart from all these things, there was nothing else that stood out to him. He wondered to himself, does this have something to do with the birth charts? Lu Zhou decided to put the cloth away. The more he looked at it, the more confused he became. Then, he looked at the boundless ocean again. As expected, Luli was nowhere to be seen. After a short moment, Lu Zhou decided to leave and returned using the same path he came. After flying for a moment, he picked up an unconscious Yuan'er and flew toward the horizon. Darkness descended. It was not known how much time had passed, but the Skywheel Rift Valley was like a sea of fire now. The cultivators from the True Kunlun sect and the Void sect finally recovered some of their vitality energy. They tried to move closer to have a look at what was going on but were repelled by the uncomfortable scorching heat. In the end, they did not dare to go any closer. No one knew what happened between Lu Zhou and Yuan'er under the valley. No one knew why a mighty Thousand Realms whirling cultivator appeared in the Skywheel Rift Valley. If I knew this was going to happen, I wouldn't have come. Why did I even come in the first place? Xian Qingzi said regretfully as he looked at the Skywheel Rift Valley. It's useless to regret. We're already here anyway. Mo Xinglu said. Xian Qingshi looked at the corpses strewn everywhere as he shook his head helplessly. In the end, he said, retreat. Fear lingered in the hearts of the members of the two sects even after they left. The lava, the karmic fires left a lasting impression on them. For hours after the two sects left, Lu Zhou and Yuan'er appeared from the eastern horizon and came to a stop above the Skywheel mountain range. Lit by the moonlight, Lu Zhou shook his head as he looked at the valley. At this moment, Yuan'er suddenly gasped and coughed before he opened his eyes. He looked around in a daze. A shocked expression appeared on his face. He, who had been paralyzed by the pain earlier, had expected to die after all. You're finally awake, Lu Zhou said, but he did not look at Yuan'er. He looked at the corpses on the ground, the collapsed mountains, and the sea of fire in the Skywheel Rift Valley. Yuan'er was filled with disbelief when he surveyed his surroundings. It took a while before he regained his composure and accepted the scene before his eyes. In the end, he asked, "Why did you save me?" Lu Zhou still did not look at Yuan'er as he replied, "Do you think I'd save you?" Lu Zhou finally turned around. Under the moonlight, Yuan'er, who finally saw Lu Zhou's elderly and sage-like appearance, could not help but cry out, "Who are you?" Lu Zhou looked at Yuan'er as though Yuan'er was an idiot. Then, he asked, "Where's Luo Xian?" Upon hearing this question, realization finally dawned on Yu Qinshu. Suddenly, he began to cough violently again due to his injuries. It was difficult for him to breathe as well. After a while, he even began to cough out blood. He had been grievously wounded twice in the chest, after all. It was a miracle that he was even alive. He did not expect to be in the pink of health. The winner is the king. You can kill me or do whatever you want with me. Yu Qinshu no longer put up a fight. Didn't you think you're invincible? Yu Qinshu lowered his head. His reasons and opinions were weak when faced with facts. Lu Zhou said, "You saw the Thousand Realms whirling avatar. In those people's eyes, the Red Lotus domain is as insignificant as an ant. Moreover, do you think if you refuse to talk, I won't be able to find Luo Xian?